You're listening to the Practical Wealth Show with Curtis May.
All right, guys. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So I'm excited. I have two friends of mine, Lorenzo Jackson and Anthony Lee. We've apparently, well, Lorenzo said he doesn't remember. I don't remember him dunking on me or something. We were playing playing at Narva. I've blocked it out of my memory as a bad thing. And then Anthony and I played together for years, and then all of a sudden, it's funny because we see Philly's such a small town, and you see people like you'll see them dressed up, or you'll see them downtown, in a suit or whatever. And it's like, well, you only know them in sweatpants and sneakers on the court. They have this whole other life. They're married, got kids, and it's fascinating to grow up like that. But I had the honor of, and I wanted to bring them on, speaking they had a VIP dinner. So they had an event that was absolutely awesome. So if you can, and people were flying in from out of town. So as you follow them on Instagram, you need to check it out. But it was called the Investment Blueprint. And it was like the end of October, and it was basically, the theme was real life Monopoly. And I got a chance to speak at their VIP dinner with Janelle. Some of y'all know Janelle Wilson, who's I forget what episode, we'll put it in the show notes, the Burr Method. And so it was, I got to get y'all on. I love what you're doing out there. And so Lorenzo, Anthony, tell them about yourself, and how you got into this real estate journey, and let's show them how to make some money.
You want to go first, Zoe?
I'll go first. I'll jump out here. So Lorenzo Jackson of Jackson Rental Homes, which is a full-based property management company. So I got into real estate a long time ago. My father was a real estate investor, so I'm a second-generation real estate investor. And just watching him manage the properties correctly, maybe incorrectly, I was able to learn a lot of things at the early age of 12. So as I went to college, I went to Hampton University. I went as an entrepreneurship major I knew I always wanted to get into real estate. So as soon as I graduated, I became a real estate salesperson. And from sales, I got out in 2008, and that's when everything shut down.
Right.
But I picked up rentals. Once I realized I can make just as much money renting out homes as I could selling them, I completely started just rent out homes. And then I got a corporate job as a property manager for 10 years. I managed one of the larger apartment complexes in Philadelphia. And that's where I was able to start my own company, and as well as buy real estate during my journey. So I do both, own property manager company. And my biggest part is I love being a real estate investor and watching the city from 2008 to what it is now, where prices have almost tripled in some areas. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony.
Yeah, so I'm Anthony Lee, A-Lee Real Estate on social media. My journey's kind of, it's no like straight path, right? So I'm the guy who always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be this business person, but I didn't know how. So like my immediate examples of, what it is to be an adult were people who, nothing wrong with it, but they had a job, they worked, they believed in going to school. And, one day you'll have enough money, you'll retire, and you'll live the end of your days, peacefully as a senior getting your checks. But for me, that never was really my thing that attracted me. So I started my first business at the age of 12, which was a landscaping business. I did that from age 12 to 22. In that process, I really just was, networking and trying to figure out my path. I had a few exposures, I would say like high school, senior year, and early college, where I was running into people. I had one cousin who was doing real estate, and I bumped into some other people. And then somebody gave me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I had that aha moment. And I had realized like, hey, I have this landscaping business, but I really have a hustle, not a business. And there's a big difference between being a hustler and a business owner, because I have to go out and do the work every day in order to make money versus I use my money to employ people and they help me make the money.
Right.
And in that, I basically, went from cutting grass, selling T-shirts and CDs in college, just trying to build my skill set until I could figure out, I need a job. I'll get this degree. I'll get a job. Next thing you know, I'll use that to get a loan, and hopefully I'll be able to buy houses. But in that process, I was able to buy my first property a year or two after college, but I got laid off from that job. So nobody told me about being an adult where like they can fire you for no reason just because of budget cuts and all that other stuff.
Two reasons, any reason or no reason at all is the
right. So, you know, for me, that was a shell shock and it hurt my feelings. I'll be honest. It hurt my feelings. To this day, I literally like every time I buy a new car, I drive by that job and just wave at the guys and say hi, you know, or I buy a property, you know, I just, you know, hey guys, how you doing? You know, like I'm still standing, I'm okay. But in that process, it taught me that I can't be dependent on one income as well as dependent on somebody else to help me get to my future and chase my goals. So I got my real estate license after getting laid off. That was when Obama just hit office. So I was able to use my unemployment to hold me over, stay in my mom's back room, get my real estate license. And in that journey, I failed my real estate exam 10 times. So, you know, I thought real estate might not have been for me because I couldn't pass the test, but I did overcome it.
You only got to pass it once, right?
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. And I mean, at that point, I was failing about 1 and 2 points. I was going every week, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and 10th time, because I was like, I got to pass this thing. You know, so once I got my license, I used my real estate license basically to allow me to help others buy and sell real estate, but use that as basically a paid education for me to realize, oh, this is who the lenders are. This is who the contractors are. This is what a buyer looks for when they're buying houses. This is what tenants need. And from there, you know, I started out, I bought one house a year. To second year, I think I bought one house as well. No, first year I bought one. Second year I bought no houses. Second year I bought one. And then my fourth year I jumped up, I bought 3 or 4. And then I hit another ceiling, well, another wall, due to not knowing being self-employed, you're not really bankable. And you can't write everything off in your taxes.
Right.
So, you know, once I got through that, learning that process, I've been able to scale where, you know, I can buy 3 or 4 houses, you know, per year, whether I flip them or use them as rentals. And now basically in my last 2 years of growth, I'm now moving towards buying apartment buildings.
Oh, man. All right. And, you know, I met, because of y'all, speaking of that, KR, we spoke, what did he say last time? He says, he told people, don't be a real estate thought. And I'm glad people don't see that. I got to put the video out because I couldn't stop laughing when she said that. I said, you can't see it on the audio when I put it out as audio, but I'm dying. I was like, no, you didn't say that. But that was hilarious. So they just made me think of that. So how did you all come together? Because you were separately, and then because one of the things, there's a couple points. Let me point out a couple of things. So one, they started early. I'm a second generation business owner, Lorenzo. My dad, we were in the supermarket business, we were in the tavern business, and you know, I actually got into the financial services business in college. You know, during basketball season, I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards. I got my insurance license, and I ended up recruiting my dad into the business. So we were, you know, in financial services together. But what you'll notice is that you start early, so you got to learn how to earn money. That is a critical thing there. That's what I want y'all to see. And then Anthony didn't stop. Like I had people, I used to recruit people in the insurance business, and it was like they would fail the test. Teachers, you know, 1 time, 2 times, their ego is so hurt they stop. But you know, that means you're supposed to keep going. It's not supposed to be easy, right? Where would you be had you quit? Right. And you know, so that's good stuff. So y'all were doing, and also your competitive nature. See, I like the whole basketball thing because Lorenzo was beating you in some kind of way, in terms of the volume, and that made you kind of level up. Tell them about that, and then I want to talk about how you came together.
So me and Lorenzo have been good friends. Like we grew up playing basketball in Southwest Philadelphia. I lived in Delaware, in Yayton, which is literally across the street from Southwest. So we would leave Delaware, like Yayton, and come to Southwest to play basketball. So we were competitive, you know, growing up. But then over time, like you said, you see people but don't know what they do because you never ask. You don't grow up like, hey, what's your profession? What do you do? Like, you know, so eventually because of social media, we connected and realized like, hey, there's power in coming together. We can still do our own thing, but when it comes to, you know, trying to be a resource and a positive impact in our community and with our people, hey, let's do it together so we don't have to pull this train by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And in that, Lorenzo's passed me off deals that I was able to purchase and make a profit. I provided deals for him. And we took that synergy and said, hey, let's put that on a larger platform and bring some more people in, because now, Lorenzo just got another large apartment building that he's taken down through the networking. Like I said, I'm chasing apartment buildings as well. And in that competitiveness, you say to Lorenzo, like, yo, I'm doing this one house, like, check me out. Lorenzo's like, yeah, that's cute. I'm doing 3 houses right now, and I got 3 more under contract that I'll be closing on next month. You're like, all right, never mind. I'll talk to you later. I have some work to do. So, one of the things in my growth in my journey, I've realized that it's okay to be less than or to be not doing as well as somebody else if you're open to being uncomfortable and using that as motivation, not using it as, self-doubt or pity.
Yeah.
So, hanging around. And the other good thing is I have to always say, I always salute Lorenzo, because he doesn't do it in a boasting way. He does it in the way that he's trying to show you, like, there's more in the tank, or that there's more on the other side of what you think you can do. So, and he does it, like I said, very humble about it. You wouldn't know unless you get to really talk to him. And he'll tell you, like, yeah, like I said, I'm doing 1 house. He's like, yeah, I'm doing 3. So now it's like, currently I'm actively doing 3 houses, and I got 1 more coming under contract. And like I said, I've been negotiating this apartment building for the last 2 weeks, because it's like, when you got friends like Lorenzo, KR, Dwayne, you only can keep going up. Even if you get a millionaire's crumbs, that's probably going to be thousands of dollars.
Right.
So it's like, I've learned to, like, accept, like, hey, I'm still growing. I got work to do, but I want to hang around these people that are doing better than me, because it's only going to strengthen me.
Yeah. Yeah. So power association. Go ahead, Lorenzo.
I think it's important to, and one way we really came together is because, like you said, as we learn information, we're not bragging about it, because we'll say, okay, I'm working on 8 different projects. Now, this is how you can scale up. And this is another reason why we have the conferences. And we had a lot of free content as well. We want anybody who wants to learn to be able to learn. So we'll have some free stuff, and then some stuff you may have to charge for, but it's really getting the information back out to the community.
Yeah.
Because all 3 of us, we may have been exposed, but if I had someone at 15, when I was 15, came and say, look, I'm a millionaire, I don't sell drugs, I just simply get up and go to work. I think I think every kid in our community, they need to see that. Yeah. So when we come in and say, look, I got 40 houses, or KRs, we got 100 houses. We're not bragging. It's like, look, there's a way out of this, and you don't necessarily have to, necessarily work a 9-to-5 job. Nothing against, but you have options. So I want you guys to make, and this is when we talk to the kids, you have options. There's nothing wrong with being a plumber or an electrician. You can use your hands. And like similar to what you said, being a real estate thought, it looks good, but sometimes the numbers, they're just not there at the end of the day. But it's so important to get everybody on board with the information and then let them execute on their own.
Yes, because it's people will live up to expectations. Kids will live up to the expectations you set for them. So I always try to, with our kids, I tell people, compete but don't compare. And run your race. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You just focus on being the best you can be. Like I always tell people I like track and swimming, because they call it their PR. They're trying to win the race, but they really, if they come beat their best time, they're happy. And I think that, listeners, as you're listening to this, as you start down this journey, because what I want to talk about. So remember, the name of the game is you want to become and remain financially free. Okay. And so tell me when I say that, you guys, because I'll ask my clients this, do you want to become financially free or financially independent? What does that mean to you? And they give me all kinds of crazy answers. So I want, so I got to bring them back in because it's hard to reach a target you don't have. Right. And they're all over the place. So what does that mean to you guys? And then I want you to talk about how you help your clients, your mentees work towards that objective using real estate as a vehicle.
So for me, financial freedom has changed over the years. So in my growth of maturing now as a husband, a father, like I thought success or financial freedom was having fancy cars and Gucci belts and, doing crazy stuff just because you got money. But now that, the money has a purpose, I think that's when things change. So for me, it's, hey, my wife doesn't have to go to work because she worked in a hospital and, work during COVID. Right. Like, hey, now my wife can choose, like I can do this or I don't have to do this. But bills are paid. In addition to that, hey, our lifestyle is paid for, but whether I get up every month, these bills in our household are taken care of because of the properties or the things I've done in the previous years with my time.
Yeah.
So, to summarize it, being financially free for me is not having to do things for money, but choosing what I want to do for money.
Yep.
Now, for me, it like you said, it's evolved, it's changed as well. My original goal was to not have to work for anyone else. And once I quit my job, it's been three and a half years. Then we started to change. So, okay, now I want to make sure that my kids don't have to work for anybody if they don't want to. And my immediate goal right now is I want to retire my wife. So, and I love when you say becoming, because some of it is not necessarily about actually making money, but it's the person that you become along the journey.
Yeah.
And I love watching my mentees and people that we're educating Saturday nights. Like, they'll call you on a Saturday night saying, okay, I'm looking at houses, I'm doing certain things where normally a year ago, they would have been watching Netflix or doing something else.
Right.
And understanding that they're becoming a different type of person, they're being more responsible. And it's just that watching them become, or that transformation is beautiful.
Yeah.
And you're having a different conversation with that person a year or 2 years later when they have 4 or 5 different properties and what they're working on against when they first started, and watching that light bulb go off and they can realize what's actually possible. And there aren't too many limits to what you can do. And this is the best part about it, is watching that transformation. Even I've been able to see it in, Ant, other people. I still remember when Ant your credit score hit it was like 850. That's a beautiful thing.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing. And it's just information and small tactics and strategies that we've been able to learn. And we're changing people's lives. So I'm loving watching people quit their job, retire their wife, and reach certain levels, and they're actually becoming new people. So that's the part that I really
here's the thing too. So does them becoming successful affect your ability to become successful?
Oh, no, not at all.
See, that's what I want to see, because most people have this scarcity mindset, right? And if I win, you have to lose. But if you're Lorenzo's and Anthony's willing to share, because once you understand, you think from a prosperous mindset, you understand there's more than enough for everybody to have more than enough.
So can I touch on that, Curtis?
Yeah, please.
So that mindset, I feel like, is what a lot of us are raised in. It's called survival.
Yeah.
So you don't want to tell me what you're doing because I think you're going to take from me, or I'm not going to be able to still have the same opportunities. So like, I still battle with this with my mother. I know she loves me, but she's like, hey, don't put all your business on social media.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to explain to her that the information's already out there. So whether I give it to them or I hide it from them, they're going to get it. But, hanging around guys like Lorenzo, KR, and some other people, my best friend, Greg Loper, it's always been about, hey, if I can help one more person, and eventually that blessing will come back to me, but I'm not looking for it. So, if you can get out of that mindset, of survival, like Lorenzo said, the opportunities are endless, because if you're always helping people, people are going to see that, and eventually they're going to start helping you. And a lot of the things that we're doing now, we're not doing them because we know magic or because, we know some super people. It's because we've been connecting with more people genuinely, and they're connecting us with other people. Like Lorenzo said, my credit score, I never would have thought would be 800. My credit score is like that because Lorenzo shared some tips with me. And then what did I do? I took it to my team, my village, and they were like, oh, I got this and I got that. I didn't know you needed that, or I didn't know you didn't know. And now we're sharing ideas, and now everybody in the circle. It's a thing now where you can't hang in a circle unless you're buying 1 or 2 houses a year. You can't be in a circle unless you have a 700 credit score. You can't be in a circle unless you take care of your kids and, you're being a positive role model in your inner circle.
I love that positive peer pressure. Lorenzo, you're gonna say something?
Yeah. No, because I like the stress. Like, he'll talk about the inner circle. Like, it's a lot of it is a lot of pressure to be inside of the circle, because you get a call saying, all right, we got a high school we got to go to. The kids aren't safe leaving, so we're going to go there. After this, we have community cleanups, and it's just it's a lot of work, but it is rewarding. So I do want to Just
You know what?
stress.
Talk about that because I want to go. So I want you to hit that. I want to talk about, let's say, because I want you to be thinking about it. So I'm gonna tell you what I'm thinking about. So let's say, because I always give people some tactical stuff, is that I'm working or I've got 1, 2, 3 properties now, and I need to scale and I want to scale faster. Okay, I want to talk about that. But first, I want to talk about some of the things that you guys are doing in with the community events, because I've seen Instagram or Facebook, but I saw some of the stuff you're doing. And why is that important? And what types of things have you been doing?
So we are intentional about, we do business in these neighborhoods, but the thing we really didn't like is that the people who really make some of the waves, they don't look like us, and nor do they come back to the community and give back. They'll make money in the corner stores, they'll buy the real estate, but they're not doing anything in the community. They're just making money in the community. So, Lorenzo said, hey, we're going to do community cleanup. So we do community cleanups in the summertime. And then in between the community cleanups, that's where I come in and I'm helping connect at schools where we basically get a group normally whenever we get the opportunity, and we'll go speak to the children to show them, hey, you can do something different, or this is why it's important for you to go to school every day, because this is just the stepping stone. But again, if we would have learned these things early on, I probably would have paid attention in school a little more, because I saw somebody doing what I wanted to, what I thought I wanted to do or was curious about.
Right.
So it's like, we want to be that voice. We want to be that face to say, like, regardless of what we do, what we're successful in, we're always going to make time for our neighbors, our community, our friends and family, because look, we come from where y'all come from. We understand what you're going through. Just give us the opportunity and we'll show up.
Right. That's
and
awesome.
I think a lot of it came from, in the city, we're going to have 500 murders this year. And as we can't be a leader in your community and just ignore that fact without doing anything. So I love talking to other brothers. It's like, all right, so the first thing you see when you're on the news is how many people died over the weekend or yesterday. They're like, well, what are we going to do about it to try to stop it? And I think a lot of our problems in our community come from poverty or financial issues. And I think if we solve these financial issues, there is maybe hopeless romantic, but I'm thinking that there's a brighter light at the end of the tunnel. And we don't have to live like this here in Philadelphia if we can educate people on our finances. I think it starts there.
And also in other cities, because I always tell people, look, my sister's a social worker, right? I said, listen, you don't have one bullseye, right? And I know poverty is no great breeder of character, right? So I'm the money guy. Like, I try to teach people. I think financial literacy, which is accounting, by the way, is what you know today. I tell people, look, I'm a financial educator. What you know today and how you think will determine where you'll be at 5 to 10 years from now. And I think that you have to expose people. I used to do talks. I haven't had time. I want to get y'all in a circle because I love what you're doing. So maybe you can, I'll get so busy. I don't have time to do them, or I don't make time to make the connections to do them. But I used to do stuff with the Urban Affairs Coalition, right? And so I had people that were like trying to tell me what I should teach them. Like, they had these basic financial curriculum. Oh, they're not ready for that. So listen, you contracted me. I'm the teacher. Let me decide what they can handle, because they got to hear it their first time first. You know what I mean? And, I come from the premises that finances is simple. 2 + 2 is 4. You know what I mean? But the whole financial world teaches you, here's what they basically say in so many words. You're not smart enough. You don't have the time, the temperament, or the training to personally handle money. So basically, in so many words, they all say, give your money to us. Put it in this 401k, put it in these mutual funds. Let us manage it. Let us charge you fees for 30 years. Okay. And, whereas if you save, I teach people to capitalize, right? And so if you have money and you learn some stuff like y'all are teaching them, then I think that you could make a better ROI on your money than Vanguard or some fund manager you haven't met that's 1,000 miles away. So that's my premise. This is why I like having guys like you on the show, because I want to show people, you got to get your finance together. But now, what do you do with your money? I was rereading. I'm thinking about making a course out of The Richest Man in Babylon, and the third principle in the 7 cures for a lean purse is make thy gold multiply. Well, how do you do that? Go to the blueprint, right? So which is one of the 4 asset classes, but most wealth is business owners and real estate. So success leaves clues. And so now let's say I'm hearing this. What's the question I want to ask? What, from a beginner, I'm working hard, because here's the funny thing. Because what I would try to do is teach people, all right, you need to save money. I teach you got to have velocity. I want our clients to focus on cash flow and business cash flow and investment cash flow. But then it's like, they're like deer in headlights. How do I do? Because they don't know anything more than just put money in the 401k and hope the market goes up. How would you take a person like that and kind of break that is a big question, I'm sorry, their false beliefs, and kind of guide them in the path of like what you learned? See, Lorenzo was second generation, so he kind of already, didn't have the false beliefs to break, but you can always take it to the next level. But you know what I'm asking? Like, how would I,
we got you.
Yeah. Okay.
No, we got you. So I'll start, right? So if I'm talking to somebody that's starting out and they're trying to figure it out, right? So that's really my specialty, because like I said, I had a regular 9 to 5. I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have a nest egg of money. I just figured out where I was, and I started where I was at. So, I knew I had a job at the time. I had fairly decent credit. I could get pre-approved for a loan. It was only $80,000. Whatever I could get for this $80,000 and for this down payment money I have, I was going to make it work. That's it. So, some people are like, well, I want to save this amount and take care of all of this. I understand that it is good. However, I'm going to be the person to tell you, look, make sure your job income is sustaining your household, and anything extra, you have to put it to work. Yeah. And when I say extra, that could be coming from personal credit, business credit, or money that you get from, 401k that you can borrow from, or even a partnership. So a lot of some of my bigger goals and success has come from forming partnerships. For what I couldn't do by myself, I could form a partnership to bridge the gap. And there, when you talk about being able to scale, your 9 to 5 income is taking care of your house.
Yeah.
All the money that you're using, whether it's partnership, credit, or savings, it's now going out in the street to help you multiply now. So you get one, and then, if you can take those profits, don't use that money to go ball out. That was one of my biggest vices. I always would feel good. Like I reached my goal, and now I'm going to go ball out, and now the money's going. I got to go do it again. But now I'm starting from ground zero. And again, hanging around guys like, Lorenzo and some other people that I'm hanging with, I've realized my last 2 years have been super great because I haven't been taking any money. I've literally been giving myself maybe 10%, 20% of the profit, but I'm taking it and running it right back into the next deal, or I'm putting it together so that when a big deal comes, I can now take it down.
Exactly. Make your goal multiply. That's exactly what that means. Getting creative velocity. Lorenzo.
Yeah, I think those first steps it's all about the mentality. So that's something I do struggle with, because I love to get them after they believe. But once you believe, then that's when I love to talk about different strategies and tactics. But that first step is once you have the confidence, knowing that it can be done. I always like to start people who can't really see it inside of their worst fear, which is a fully gutted house, an empty house. And then we'll take them into something that's completely done. And then they can actually see what happens from A to Z in a matter of an hour. And then they actually can believe it. And when we break down the numbers and really step by step, it helps. But sometimes they have to physically see their worst case scenarios. Like, what happens if everything in the house is gone? Well, you build it back up again, and this is how you do it. So that's how I like to always start with somebody who doesn't have the same exposure as we had when I was young.
Right. Just visualize that this is a real thing, and walk them through that. And it takes time, but you're going to be here anyway. So you might as well learn how to, make some money. So go ahead.
Just also to add on that we're not exposed to. So like when you talk about becoming, and Lorenzo also talked about it, the mindset, we have to unlearn a lot of the things we thought were right. So the school system, the community, the neighborhood, whatever that entails, you have to figure out where's the good in those things, but also build your own blueprint to how your life is going to look or how you're going to get there. And I think one of the game changers for me, in addition to my circle, but if you don't have a circle, start within yourself and get a therapist. You don't necessarily need a business coach right away, but the most affordable thing for you, just to work on your mindset and unbag a lot of things that are stopping you from growing, is that mental therapy. If you can get that mental therapy and get that clarity, the vision gets a lot easier to build because you don't have this baggage in these blocks in the mental.
Yeah. I think that people talk themselves out of stuff, or we've got I've seen my kids' generation there. It's, stuff happens. They're like, all right, I have to talk to my therapist in college. I was like, wait a minute, I was not that stressed out. I always tell people I had a double major. It was basketball and girls. So I was not, or they're talking about they're studying on Saturday. I was like, you study on Saturday? Okay. One of my kids, the other one, she don't really study on Saturday, but she's really smart. She get away with it. I had to work hard. And but that's really good stuff. Most of this stuff is mental, and we have to learn how to get out of our own way. And so we just want to step right into doing so you can have. And it's because everybody wants to see that what I call the Instagram millionaires, but
the highlight reels. Yeah,
the highlight reels, but you don't see the work. Like I used to like to I always tell people the story that when I was in middle school, I read a book about George Gervin, and I read he shot 600 shots a day. Oh. And I was like, and I always look for the clues. What they eat, how they work out, what was their schedule. And I was like, okay, so I had a buddy of mine. We used to shoot 400, 500, 600 shots a day, during the summer. And people say, well, Curtis, you can shoot. Well, I should be able to shoot because you should shoot 400 or 500 shots a day. Can't shoot anymore. But because it's really shooting is all legs, and now I can't have no lift off. But whatever it is you're trying to do, like if you want to look, like does it cost any money to look at houses and analyze deals? Yeah. So you could look at stuff so it becomes real to you. When we get done recording, you got to show me that thing. We should do another one on that that worksheet you showed at the beginning of the
cash to close.
Yes. Yeah. Because I missed the part. I had to do a call. This I shouldn't talk. I'll cut this out, but I missed the call. But I was trying to figure out where the money came from, because I was going to create another example to show people, because I help them save, how to find the money, and here is how you do this to get to this and build the cash flow. So we might do another Zoom with that, because I couldn't. I forgot. I couldn't figure out where it came from. Go ahead.
So Lorenzo, though, can you tell him, tell the audience, tell them about the cheat code to the cash to close or being able to scale?
Being able to, the cash to close, and I always say I needed to know exactly how much money I needed to buy a house.
Okay.
So similar to what you said, it's free to run numbers. So I would just run numbers while I'm watching the Sixers game. I would run the numbers on almost every house in the zip code, and I would run numbers on people's properties and see how much money they made. So when it came down to it, that was one of the things that I mastered. And let's say if I had $20,000, I would just try to find 2 or 3 houses that only need $6,000 and buy 3 or 4. So that's how I was able to scale up, by mastering that sheet and using my money to actually buy the most properties. So my biggest mindset thing is I want to fail as fast as possible. So if I'm buying 4 houses, I'm going to learn a lot in those 4 houses, to where my 5th and 6th, I'm going to be able to not breeze through it, but I've learned a million things in those 4 houses. Now I'm going to buy 4 more. I'm going to learn a few other things. So now when we buy 4 or 5 houses, I've been accustomed to buying my properties in bulk.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to scale up, because I didn't start necessarily buying 1 or 2 my first 2 years, but after that, I buy 4 a month, like four at a time. So that's how my strategy works. Like, let me get 3 or 4 at a time. And I suggest everyone try that, because if you can, it's easier to get people working and keep them working.
Yeah.
And that's how I built a loyal contractor base, because they knew I always had work, and they would go from one house to the next. And by me always having work, they were loyal to me. I was loyal to them. Prices started to come down, and the quality of work just started to go through the roof. So if I had to, good.
I'm sorry. My mind just goes in, and so sorry to interrupt. One of the things you said just came back to me was that you talked about the numbers. You looked at a lot of properties or made a lot of calls, right? Talk about, because see, one of the things is that I always tell people activity produces knowledge. Knowledge does not produce activity, right? And so you have to do stuff to understand the properties, what looks good, what looks the neighborhood you like. But a lot of people don't look at enough stuff. It's like marrying the first girl you kiss. right? And
Exactly.
right,
Yeah, you got to, you got to get around a little bit.
right. In a good way, right? But so remember, do you remember that card that you talked about? I did 80 calls and whatever. And do you remember that conversation?
Oh no, because it's true. I submit 80 offers
80
per
assets,
house.
yes. Mm-hmm.
It's 80 offers now. Before back then, it could have been maybe 20. But now the market is pretty tight. So I know I have to submit 80 offers before we get some accepted. And like you said, it's activity.
Yeah.
Learn it. Because some people, they want to submit maybe 3 or 4 and say, no, this doesn't work. No, you have to keep going and you have to know your numbers. So just by submitting offers, you'll learn and say, hey, why didn't you accept my offer? Once again, failing at a rapid rate. Why didn't you accept my offer? You didn't offer as much money. You need this. So by the time I submit my next offer, I'm going to have all of the lessons from having all of the offers rejected. So you're going to have that one offer that's going to get accepted. You're constantly running your numbers so you know where there's a profit at the end of it. And I always like to work backwards and say, how much money do I actually want to make?
Yeah.
And now I just reverse engineer it. So if I want to make $100,000 on a house, I'm going to run numbers on all these properties where I can make at least 6 figures on each house.
How important is it to start with how much do I want to make?
I think that's key because you don't want to, you could be going back to the real estate thought. You can do a lot for your Instagram and your Facebook, but at the end of the day, you could possibly lose money. I lost $26,000 on my first deal. And I always like to tell people like that was tough for me, but you need to run your numbers and have a clear indication of how much money do you want to make, because you can do a lot of work for 9 months and walk away with I walked away with $6 one time off a refi. I still got to check years.
Okay.
So in addition to that, Curtis, knowing what you want to make will also help you with scaling and doing projections. So again, the difference between being a hustler and being a business owner. Yeah. Business owners, they're able to tell you, hey, next year for 2022, I'm going to make 50,000 in quarter 1, 50,000 in quarter 2, 50,000 in quarter 3, etc. It goes on. And this will also help you narrow down your target, because in real estate, everything looks good.
Yeah.
It all looks good. It's a house. You're going to make money. No, that's not true. But if you run your numbers in the beginning to know what the profits are, what the rehab cost is, how much money you're going to need to close. And that's one of the things Lorenzo mentioned earlier that I don't know, like people understood that or heard that correctly. He said, hey, if I had 20,000, I'm buying 3 houses that I can use $6,000 to put down. So in that, if he's got 3 houses, he now has the potential, just say if he's going to make 40 grand off of each house after spending the 6 grand just to get each house, he knows already he's making 120,000 just in 1 year. And now just imagine if you can multiply that 20,000 or 40,000, now you can double what you're doing. And now you're making 200 something thousand in 1 year. If you want to do that. So now the question is not of, if you can do it, it's when you do it and when you want to go ahead and be that aggressive or get your tools. But again, I say, hey, start where you are, build the process out, don't just go crazy, I would say, because, it can be dangerous. You could do 1 house and be done. It could ruin you, but again, it does help you if you at least have the momentum, because I could do 1 house and fail, but do another house to make up the gap.
Right. You got to keep working. And that, I think that one of the things is that you have to span your thinking. So if you say, well, okay, 100,000 is a lot of money, I'm going to suggest to you that it's not. Right. And to run a business, right, on $100,000 is and so now extra money, that's nice, and you want to do that. But one of the things that I think the 3 of us agree on, we have to raise y'all level of expectation about money, and becoming financially free. And with the strategies that you teach, and I want you to tell them about how to find out more about you. Is it reasonable for them to become financially free in a decade or less?
Yes,
absolutely.
How about 5 years or less?
Yeah.
I mean, so with the right mentorship.
Yeah.
So with the right mentorship. So the things that have taken, so I've been doing this since 2013, 2014. my years of success have been less than the years that I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't have the resources that I have now in regards to personal credit, business credit, my construction team, and how to find deals. So again, if I would have had this family that I have now in the investment blueprint, I probably could have, reached my success in 3 years instead of 7 years per se.
Mm-hmm.
So having that team or that environment around you, it'll definitely fast track the situation. So what took me 7 might take you 3, because I'm giving you what I know, good and bad, to already go to the toolkit that you have.
Right.
So, if you don't succeed or you don't grow in that time period, the question is, what work have you not done?
Right.
That's the question. What work have you not done?
I think you need a plan. So I'm going to kind of throw this out there. We'll talk about it afterwards, because one of the things is I want to level up our clients next year. And one of the things that I talk to people about is I want people to have what I call a 5-year to 10-year goal of greatness, but I want 1-year objectives with 90-day targets. Right. And so, you know what I mean? And so if you say, well, look, I want $5,000 or $3,000 of passive income, then I want y'all to meet these guys to kind of put together a active game plan for you to get from point A to point B. And because I think it's got to be systematic. You got to have a community. You've got to have the surroundings, and it'll kind of pull you towards success, right? Because of the community that you build. And so I'm excited that we're able to do this, and I see what you guys are doing. So hopefully, y'all let me tag along and hang out a little bit, and so I can hang out with greatness. And
we got you.
Yeah, come on in, man.
So tell them. I can talk to y'all all day, but I know y'all I appreciate your time this morning. How can they follow you? When's the next event? Tell them how they can be involved in your world and what you got going on.
So you can follow us, social media, A-Lee Real Estate. But then there's also the business page, the Investment Blueprint on Instagram. And then in addition to that, let me get it for you. They can also text 267-493-0908 so that they can get in our Facebook community as well.
And as far as events, we got a ride along scheduled for January. But I think that the easiest way for someone to get close is to come to a ride along or come to the community events, the community cleanups, working with the kids. Especially if you're a man, come on out, hang out. And that's how you can get access and be exposed to more so our inner circle. But if you want to be involved with the Investment Blueprint, our mentorship, I'm telling you right now, we can cut off a lot of the hurdles you'll have coming in real estate. We'll probably save you almost 3 years of just learning by being exposed and what we know, how to pay contractors, how to look for deals, how to finance them. Hey, look, you could buy this house in January. You should be out in May. That's something that not everybody's going to be able to teach you, but we've done it before. We spent last year making real estate investors, which is a beautiful thing. So we know we have an actual blueprint that works, and we'll get you in and out. There's no reason why you can't be 5 or 6 houses up in 18 months.
Wow.
Stay close.
Okay.
So and also just to piggyback on that. So we've got the community events, we've got the school events that where we be speaking to people, the summer camp. So January is the first boot camp. Then we're going to have another investment blueprint in April. Then we're going to have investment blueprint brunch. That's going to be invite only. That's going to be in June. And then we're going to have the second investment blueprint event for the year in October 29th, I believe is the date. And other than that, if for people who are like, hey, I don't want to necessarily go to the events, I don't like the education part, I need to be hands-on. So there'll be 4 ride-alongs next year that we'll be doing. So each quarter you can expect to see a release date for a ride-along. And then if you want to work exclusively, like Lorenzo was saying, through our mentorship, we're going to be rolling it out early January. We're just fine-tuning some of the systems for it. But basically, you'll be able to work with us you'll basically be in the family for 12 months, but you'll have us hands-on, one-on-one, myself and Lorenzo, for 6 months out of the year, where we're going to help you basically get you a 700 credit score, figure out how to get you your business funding that you're going to need, and then we're going to help you build your team so that you can execute. And now while you're executing, you're also going to have the opportunity to, hey, I got this question. How can we help you? Hey, I got this problem. How do I solve it? We're going to help you streamline your system, because if you can't execute in 6 months, there's nothing else that we can really do. The rest is really on you, but we're going to give you the tools that basically in 6 months, you should be up and running and able to execute. And we do have 1, 2, 3 people just since last year who we didn't even mentor them, but they basically came to our events, whether it be a ride along or the investment blueprint. One person, Keith, super duper cool guy. He just actually finished his first rehab. He came to the last, not the one we just had in October, the first one we had back in March, I think. So he's just finishing that one up. He's getting ready to put a tenant in and refi that one. Then we just had a young lady. She came to actually the boot camp that me and Lorenzo did. She just closed on her first property this last Friday. And then we have another young lady who's in the group, her and her fiance. They just put under contract their first property that was off market that they got, where we helped them get the funding and find the deal off market. And we already have a tenant in place for them. So, they are executing. It's just a matter of, again, just putting yourself in a room and figure out what's going to work for you.
I love that. So we will put all of those links in the show notes, guys. Make sure that you follow them, you reach out. And so as I'm recording this, it's like the beginning of November. So the show will probably come out like probably first week in December. I'm gonna try to get it out, because what I want you to do is you have to plan for success, right? So you should be going into, like, I'm already putting together my game plans for 2022. Right. But it's a great book. It's another tip. Y'all heard me mention this before. A lot of my listeners have the 12-week year by Brian Moran. So I run my game and not my business in 90-day, like 12 weeks is a year. Right. So, so I lap people because I'm more intense about what I'm trying to get done. So I think if you add that operating system to what they're going to teach you, boom, you're off to the races. And because you got to be intense, you got to learn how to live, mentally transform yourselves to live in what I call the performance economy and not the trade hours for dollar world. Okay. Right. And so the faster you can do that, the faster you'll release the shackles off your feet. Okay. Right.
So when you talk about the steps, the tangible things, I think I'll just say the first 30 days. Yeah. For people, what I would say you should focus on, and you can, whether you work with us or don't work with us, you want to have that business bank account. At least put $100 to $500 in there so that you can say that business bank account is up and open. And then outside of that, do everything you can in your power to get a 700 or better credit score. With those two things from there, you can basically navigate in the personal credit world or personal cash or the business world, and then from there, it's just a matter of figuring out how do we launch this situation from there. Mm-hmm. So, again, 700 credit score is the only way to basically walk around and deal with these lenders and stuff. And then, even if you don't have any properties or you don't even know what the business is going to be, just open the business and get the bank account, because having that bank account established, it'll help you, good, better, and different as you get ready to start utilizing the business credit and the personal credit.
I love that.
And I think maybe even on the mentality side, come with an open mind. Because we mentioned before, and it's so important that you're going to have to unlearn a lot of things that you may have thought were true. And if you come with that open mind, those first 30 days, that's what's going to dictate how successful you be for the rest of the year. But if you can unlearn a few things and be ready to work, it's like I said, the transformation is beautiful. But unlearn, be ready to be molded into an investor. You bring that to us, and the sky's the limit from there.
All right, I'm gonna let that be the final word. So get out there and reach out to them. Let's make 2020 your best 22. Sorry, your best year ever, and let's get what I call on the other side of money. All right, guys, go out there, make it a prosperous day. Thanks for listening to the Practical Wealth Show. I want you to, if you like this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. Listen, like, and share. These brothers got a lot of great information, and they're doing a lot of great things. And if you're not in Philly, you can reach out to them from an educational standpoint. But hey, are you doing community cleanups? What can you do? Because we always say, well, what are they going to do? Oh, no. You build a community from the bottom up, one household at a time. right? And so that our, because guys, the theme of my show is stop looking for other people to solve your problems. Okay. All right. And so that's like my underlying message. Stop looking for other people to solve your problems. Look for governments and all these other people that are leaders. You know, everybody's got no leaders. You're the leader of your household, right? You're the CEO of your personal economy. So they've just showed you how to grow. Okay. And you know, we're going to come together. We're going to do. I'm excited about knowing you all and what you're doing out here. So we have to collaborate and get our people on the other side of money. So, guys,
Sure,
I appreciate you so much.
You already in the circle, Curtis. I don't even think you realize we all got blue on today. So we good.
There we go. All right.
We got that investment blueprint blue on. We good.
There we go. All right. I'm honored. So I will, guys, thanks for coming on. And guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Practical Wealth. To access the show notes and resources, go to practicalwealthshow.com. To get your questions on the show, go to practicalwealthshow.com. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before you make any investment decisions, consult a professional. This show is copyrighted by Practical Wealth. Written